Welcome back to another episode of Awareness to Action Enneagram podcast. My name is Creek, and I'm with my soporific co-hosts, María, Sikora, and María José Munita.
Do you know what that is, Mario?
I know it's not good.
We make people fall asleep.
Oh, okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
If it's what I think it is. It's like you make people sleepy, you know?
Yeah,
because
much.
We're boring.
Yeah. Well, it was just, I had never heard that word before, and my aunt used it at Easter dinner. So I'm like, well, I'm always on the lookout for good adjectives. And it's not always the case, but I'm sure it applies occasionally. Just
interesting. So what's the root of the word? I don't know. I mean, I've heard the word before, but I didn't know what it means. So
I don't know. In Spanish,
it is Latin.
It's soporífero. It's pretty much the same. And sopor, it's like a state of kind of sleepiness or like, I think it's that. But we use it. When something's really, really boring, but very boring, we say that it's soporífero.
Okay. See, that's interesting because it's not a common word here. So, I mean, it's a word, but it's not one other than anybody other than
it's not a word that you use.
Would use, right. Yeah. So,
all right.
Anyway,
well,
so what are we talking about today?
We're talking about we're transitioning from the instinctual, how to coach instinctual biases to.
Yeah, but did you think of once when you came up with the adjective, Creek? Instead of subtle.
Well, you know It's my own relationship to the one line. It's probably structure. But today we're talking about coaching ones. No, ones are not sleepy. Ones do not put me to sleep. But María José, talk to us about striving to feel perfect.
How much time do we have? So ones are striving to feel perfect, and that doesn't mean that they think they're perfect all the time. They act like they did, but it's not their inner experience all the time. But they're trying to do things in a perfect way. They're trying to be perfect. They're trying to perfect the world because it feels just fine when things are perfect. It's just, there's a pleasure in seeing something perfect. And ones tend to think that they know what perfection is, how things should be, and they're very clear about when they're not perfect and what's the gap, and you want to close it. So that's when I tell people this, it's like, who wants to live like that? You know, it's, but it happens to some people, and striving to feel perfect.
I think we should remind people that our way of thinking about the types is through these strategies, right? Each of the strategies at the kind of the kernel of the Enneagram type is a adaptive strategy. It's a way that we all want to feel, and some of us want to feel perfect, like María José is describing, and we call those people ones. Okay, and María José described it. It's just this sense of things should be a certain way. I should be a certain way. You should be a certain way. And when they are that way, I feel okay. And when they're not, I don't feel okay. And so I try to get them there. Now, they don't apply this to everything, right? Ones aren't going through life trying to perfect every single thing that they see.
Only what's important.
Only what they deem is important, right? Yeah, what they think is important. And that will vary from one to one, right? I don't know if we're going to get into the subtypes here or not, but, people with different instinctual biases, that's true. It is our show, isn't it? So people, will focus primarily on the things related to their instinctual domain, although I shouldn't say primarily. They'll focus more, they'll be more passionate about the perfection of those things. And again, we can use the strategies adaptively or maladaptively. There's nothing wrong with striving to feel perfect. It's just the way, how effectively we do it. And So the more stress they feel, the more strident they get and trying to perfect the world. Yes. Yeah, that's a good word, isn't it? I have the best words.
So, of course, there is a connection between a 4 and a 1. So let's talk about connecting points and how those flavors of the connecting points kind of influence that sort of dominant strategy.
Yeah, so type 1 connects to type 4 and type 2. And type 7. So type 4 is what we call the support strategy. And again, it doesn't mean that it's a good thing. We use it in adaptive and maladaptive ways, but we rely on it many times, and it reinforces our sense of striving to feel perfect. And how it looks like, or it can look, it can show up in many ways, but it creates an entrenched attitude that we call feeling misunderstood. What's it called? How is it called?
Yeah, it's kind of a self-pitying sort of feeling misunderstood, right? As a self-pitying self-righteousness.
That's the one. So it's like, I'm the only one who cares, but it's like, poor me, I'm the only one who cares, but I'm the only one who sees it. I'm the only one who's right, who's doing the right thing.
Yeah, I'm the only one who's trying to fix this. I'm the only one who works hard, all these sort of things. It's funny, in our sister podcast, The Enneagram in a Movie, we recently did an episode on the movie Witness, with Harrison Ford playing a preserving 1. And there's a scene where the woman's talking to him after talking to his sister. And she said, your sister says that when you have a few beers, you start talking about how, all the other cops are not as good as you. And you're the only cop who works really hard. And you're the only one who knows a crook from his elbow. And it is, again, it's that self-pitying sort of, I'm the only one. And and although it's in some way playing the victim because it's like misunderstood, but on the other hand, it's also like reinforcing this sense of perfection. I want to feel perfect. So I might be an ass and kind of bugging you, asking you to do all of these things, but it's because I care. Yeah. And I'm the only one who cares. Yeah, which is why we call it self-pitying self-righteousness, right? It is, and again, that's kind of that's a negative place, and that's not how 1s are all the time. And again, we always need to reiterate that when we're talking about these things, we're talking about when they're under stress and what they do, and and that's when we work with people, right? When they need help.
Yeah, and many times it can be. Like, for example, when I see something that it's unique, it feels more perfect. Doing something that it's different, that it's aesthetically pleasing. To me, it gives me a sense of perfection rather than the joy of having a unique thing. It's just more perfect to me.
Yeah. What's like an uncommon in your coaching practice? Maybe how is this particular line show up that maybe on initial glance it wouldn't appear to be that?
To me, I think that it's, and from my own experience as well, it's when people start complaining, when 1s start complaining about all the efforts they're making and how other people don't pay attention or do not keep up with them or do not thank them or acknowledge it. I say, look, nobody's asking you to do this. You are making a decision. It's your choice to do these things. So the self-pitying, stop it. It's you need to own it. It's your decision. And if it makes you feel good, then do it. But do not expect people to see it, to acknowledge it, or to do anything about it, or do the same that you're doing. Because it creates the opposite reaction. People don't like it when they see that, and it doesn't invite them to do the same, really.
Yeah. It shows up in multiple ways, right? I mean, it can show up in in that aesthetic sense that Maria Jose was talking about, right? It tends to be a slightly, well, depending on the individual, but it tends to be a different aesthetic sense from what we might think we'd see in a 4 or whatever, right? But there is this appreciation of beauty and precision in the world that, like Maria Jose said, it just that looks right. Kind of thing. So there's that. And there can also be a melancholy to ones that they have, right? I mean, there can be this frustration from a lot of reasons, right? That can be a way of dealing with their frustration, dealing with their feeling of not being appreciated, dealing with just the overwhelm of everything that needs to be fixed. They're looking around and they're saying, geez, everywhere I look, there's something. I just need to kind of shut down here and go into myself and feel a little bit sad for myself for a while.
Yeah, and I think it that combined with the fact that ones try really hard to make it right for themselves and for other people. So when it's not working, or it's not appreciated, it's sad, It's like on the one hand, it's like they can get angry or frustrated, as you're saying, but also I'm trying so hard that it's not working, so I'm losing something. It makes me sad.
Yeah,
that overwhelm sounds like some 7-ness. Some excess from the 7.
I think it's different, at least in what I was just describing. I mean, certainly there is a connection to 7 that we need to talk about. But I think the way I'm thinking of this is just looking around and just thinking of, seeing the imperfection all over the world, and how it could be, there's the story of, the person walking on the beach and all the starfish washed up on the beach, and, people say, oh, what are you going to do about it? And well, I'm just going to throw them one by one, whatever. But, we look at all these starfish and we just think, oh man, I can't deal with this. And so they'll kind of go into themselves and go into this kind of sadness and retreat there as a way of re-energizing, right? Of just kind of resting in that melancholy for a while, so I can summon up the energy to go back into the world and try again. So.
Is there ever a risk of them kind of, I'm sure, kind of over-involving themselves, where it's not just a retreat response, but it's also I got to do this now. Like I'm compelled to. I can't help myself but to pick up these starfish.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't, it's like...
Then what?
Yeah. Well, but and so that's the thing. I mean, and it's because they have that urge to fix things, right? To not be able to sit with injustice, to not be able to sit with something not being as it should be. Because that is so urgent for them, that's the same reason it can become overwhelming, right? Because the world is filled with things that could be fixed, and so if they didn't care as much as they do, they wouldn't exhaust themselves trying to fix it and need to retreat into that melancholy in the same way. Right. So, I mean, these things are always a response. And this is the thing we have to understand about the strategies is when one strategy is not working, or we're becoming overwhelmed by it, or we're not getting what we want from it, we go to a different strategy, at least temporarily. And so for the one, sometimes, okay, this striving to feel perfect thing's not working, so let me retreat to striving to feel unique. And at other times, they go the other way, in either positive ways, or it's what we call the neglected strategy. And at times when they should feel excited at 0.7, they don't. And other times they get, frustrated at not feeling excited and thinking, why does everybody else get to have all the fun? Why I got to be, little Mr. Goody Two-Shoes here or something? So let me overindulge. Let me make up for it. Let me be like, the Amish teenager on Rumspringa, where, I'm going to overindulge and open a meth lab or something. So that's a true story. So again, Witness is on my mind, which takes place amongst the Amish, and but I don't know if you know what the Rumspringa is in the Amish tradition. But when an Amish teenager
community,
what's that?
I live in an Amish community.
Oh, well, there you go. So you know all about the Rumspringa then. So basically, for those who don't, it's that 2-year period when an Amish teenager turns 18 where they get to go out and experience life outside of the Amish tradition if they so choose, and sometimes it can be this overexpression of things, and then usually they go back and so forth. But this is the challenge of the 7, right? There's lots of exciting stuff out there. I'm sorry, the challenge of the 1. If I give in to striving to feel excited, well, I'm going to mess up. I'm not going to be perfect. And this is why we refer to it as the neglected strategy, because at times when they should be excited, they fail to do so.
I have so much to say about this, but I think that there's a projection on other people that makes one think that everybody's expecting you to be perfect. And if you feel excited, too excited, lose control, you're just going to do things that are not perfect. And it doesn't have to be go overboard. It can be small things too that you do that are not perfect. And it can be just from a range from eating a chocolate to, I don't know, killing someone. It's everywhere, Look, I'm not saying that you will, but I want to make sure that it's just small things as well. But it's because you feel like you just have to be perfect, and everybody's expecting you to, and will judge you if you don't. And striving to feel excited feels like a threat. Like if I go there, it's going against being perfect. But it's almost the other way, not the other way around, but using that strategy intentionally, letting go of like the restrictions that you put to yourself and enjoying. I'm not saying that you have to do what you were saying with the Amish, but just not neglecting it allows you to feel even more perfect, because you're, more cheerful, easier to go on with, to deal with other people. And it just makes you a more, whole person, more normal person, not so perfect. You're more human. And that is something that other people value as well. So it's the opposite of what you intuitively think. You think that it's going against your strategy. It will make you feel less perfect, but it's the opposite.
Yeah. So there's two things that came to mind as you were speaking. So number one, you made a joke about killing people, and we do not advocate that. But it's worth noting that just because somebody is a 1 who is striving to feel perfect doesn't mean that they are always morally correct. Okay? There are ones who I'm sure have killed people, or
for a good reason,
or for
in their minds. In their minds,
yeah,
it's a good reason.
Which is, again, if we go back to Aaron Beck and cognitive behavioral therapy, he wrote a book called The Prisoners of Hate, and his point there is that everybody thinks everything they do is for a good reason, even the worst of us, right? But they just have a distorted logic about what is morally right and what is not. So nobody ever says, I'm setting out to do evil today. Everybody always sets out to, except Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, but otherwise people are trying to do the right thing. And the 1 is trying to do that, and they might have a twisted moral compass that makes them feel like doing something bad is the right thing. Now, that said, it always comes down to calibrating our non-conscious interpretations of the strategies. Okay, so when María José is talking about this striving to feel excited and needing to integrate it and learning to use it, it's because we have this understanding that striving to feel perfect means this. Right? Even when we're not aware of that, it's an implicit definition that we don't think about. It guides us, it shapes us. And the work is always exploring these implicit definitions of what it means to strive to feel perfect, and then looking at, okay, well, how does that also shape my understanding of what it means to be excited? And how do I calibrate what's appropriate excitement versus what's inappropriate excitement? Because the challenge that the one has when they're not questioning what it means to be perfect, they're also not questioning what it means to be excited appropriately, so they can bounce back and forth between this restraint versus indulgence that we talk about without ever really having a intentional approach to what they're doing.
So we've already talked a little bit about the strengths and challenges of ones. What are some other ones that you run into in your coaching engagements?
Strengths or challenges?
Let's start with some strengths, María José.
I think that it is a strength that when you're striving for perfection, you just do things that are good, good quality, or you tend to, at least you try. You're trying to be objective. Probably not, when making decisions, it's trying not to be too emotional about them. Ones are also kind of goal-oriented. So there are, several strengths. Do you have more, María? The beauty of working with me, what would you say it's my strengths?
I've got a much bigger list of, on the other side. But now, look, there's benefit in striving to feel perfect at the right time, right? I mean, there's a lot of things where you want perfectionism. There's a lot of things a lot of circumstances where you want somebody being really, really precise in what they're doing. If I have to get surgery, if it's not a one operating on me, I hope it's somebody with a lot of striving to feel perfect. Okay? I remember actually going to Santiago one time. So I was going from Philadelphia to Miami to Santiago. And I'm at the Philadelphia airport, and it was a smaller plane, and so they didn't have space for my roller bag. So the guy at the gate says to me, I need to check your roller bag. Don't worry, it'll be waiting for you at your final destination. And as he's doing this, he's talking to somebody, and he's doing, blah, 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 blah. And so I get to Santiago, and my suitcase is in Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay. And the reason is because instead of SCL, he wrote SLC on the tag. Okay. So it went to Salt Lake City instead of, I forget the name of the airport there, but it's SCL is the
Santiago.
Santiago. So it has a name to it other than Santiago Airport.
Chile. S and CL.
So does this have a point? Or
the point is, I wish it was a one who was handling my bag at the time, right? Instead of whatever this guy was. So the point is, there's nothing wrong with striving to feel perfect as long as it's done at the right time. So there are huge strengths in people who are willing to be precise, be sticklers for things in which we need sticklers. And, working with María José, it's great because it relieves me of the burden of having to try hard to be particular about things that I know that she'll...
That you do not care about.
That I don't care about. Yeah, right. Look, I mean, that's why we have partners, right? Yeah. Because it's like, I do this, you do that. And, that's your gift and this is my gift. So there's a lot of great things about being a one. And there are some things, when they're acting maladaptively that are less great.
Yeah, I think that one of the simple but impactful things is that ones tend to see things in black and white. It's either really good or really bad. It's hard to see the gray. And I know that it sounds like a cliche, but it limits your perspective, I think, a lot. And it's something that ones tend to feel trapped, many times.
Yeah, there's also a tendency to think that they're always right. Okay, or and again, they're not the only ones, because I have a lot of that myself.
And so do fours. So
it's just that we tend to think we're right about different things, is what it comes down to, right? So
I'm right about it. I have the truth.
Yeah, right. So there's that, and that can get them into trouble because it can be hard to change their mind, and very often, when ones are under stress, they can become very identified with their point of view, especially if they have made an ethical or moral case for doing the right thing, and it can be hard for them to kind of step back off of it. Now, again, ones, just like everybody else, when they're feeling comfortable and in a good place, they're willing to change their mind if the evidence warrants it, but that can be a trap they fall into.
Yeah, one of the things that are a real problem most times, it's criticism. I think that it's a blind spot of the one. They know that they tend to criticize things, but they're not aware of the impact that has, and people around them feel criticized, feel like not inspired by type 1 leaders many times, because it's like nothing is good enough. Nothing that I do satisfies the needs or the expectations of the type 1 kind of boss or leader. I was talking to someone today, to a client whose boss is a 1. And he said, look, there's a problem because he's really bad at giving me directions. But he always knows when I'm getting off track, and he shows it to me. And that's because ones think that things should be a particular way, and everybody's seeing the same thing. Why should I tell you what to do if it's obvious? It's the thing that you have to do. And if you're not doing it, it's because you don't want to, or you're not capable of it, but not because I didn't tell you what to do. So that's a problem, and people feel that criticism acutely, and it's a problem when it becomes uninspiring. Yeah.
Also, ones can sometimes struggle with receiving criticism or receiving feedback that feels like criticism. So they can really take it personally and struggle with it and beat up on themselves. So that can be a challenge for them, right? They have to get good at taking feedback. So that's something that I think also connects to type 4. There's these almost identification with the things that you do. So you're trying hard, as I said. You're trying to do the right thing. You get something that feels like criticism, and they're criticizing you, not your work, not your kids. They're criticizing you. And that identification with what you're doing makes them be even more sensitive to criticism. I think we all do that to some extent, but for the one, it is more acute, right? And I bring this up because I can hear people out there saying, well, I feel bad when I'm criticized as well. But the things that we feel bad about being criticized for will vary from type to type, and ones tend to take it more personally. I mean, I completely agree that they are often more identified with doing things right. So if there are other developmental areas, Maria touched on this a little bit, but because of their tendency toward restraint, as leaders, like you said, they may not be that inspiring. It's not just because they point out the negative, but also they just don't let themselves get that excited about something, right? So people come in, they're real excited. Oh, hey, we just landed this deal, whatever it is. And the one says, okay, that's great. And it's like, oh, man, you just deflated my balloon there, right? I remember one time working with a one, and she said, we were talking about this connection to 0.7, and she said, yeah, there used to be this sweepstakes where Ed McMahon, this guy, would come to your house with a $10 million check from the Publishers Clearinghouse with people with balloons and all these sort of things. And it would just be this random, here, you're worth $10 million now. And she said, yeah, Ed McMahon could show up at my door with the check, and I would say, oh, well, thank you very much. And then I'd go inside and I'd jump up and down for about 10 seconds, but then I'd pull it back together again. So again, there's this, I don't want to let loose too much. And so that, again, can deflate people.
So let's take one of those examples, and can you give just how you work with that particular challenge through the awareness to action process?
Go ahead, Maria. Say.
Like the feedback, for instance.
Yeah.
Like the criticism?
Mm-hmm. See, reframing in action there, right? Feedback, you mean criticism, right? Yeah. Good.
I just want to be clear what we were talking about. Yeah. So in the one's mind, if you don't point out what's wrong, it will continue to be wrong. So you need to point it out. It's simple, like it's math, you know. You need to show it to people so that they do something about it. Now, and if you don't, it's like it's going to be like that forever. That's how it feels. And sometimes people don't take it well, or sometimes it's not necessary, or in the bigger scheme of things, it's not that relevant. There's something that it's more relevant. So when you want to make things perfect, you need to choose what is it that it's more important. So do you want the team dynamics to be perfect, or do you want every output of the team to be perfect? Do you want, so what is it that you want? So you tend to think in short term, like smaller scale, and you want every little thing to be perfect. When you think in those terms, you will be correcting or criticizing everything. And of course, I'm exaggerating. Ones are not criticizing everything. But if there's something that you tend to criticize more, you need to think, okay, what's the impact of it? What is it creating? Is it what's the impact on something that it's even more important? If I want somebody to do a good job and I'm criticizing every little thing that he or she does, will that person be enthusiastic about their job? Will they be committed to it? Will they put all their hearts into it? Probably not, because they're not motivated. So if keeping people motivated, inspired, doing their best, it's more important than doing every little thing correctly, then I might choose what to criticize and when to stay quiet. Not because I am giving up on perfection. It's because I want the end game to be perfect. And that means that I want people committed. So it's, in a way, you change from the short term to the long term, from the small scale to the broader scale, and decide what to fight for. You still fight for perfection, but at a different scale.
Yeah, it's redefining what's perfect. Is it more perfect to be kind of a miserable stick in the mud, or is it more perfect?
You're really painting a bad picture.
No, I'm not. No, come on, I said lots of nice things. No, but I'm just, again, we're talking about a coaching situation here, right? So, and if somebody is perceived as taking all the enthusiasm out of things, you ask, okay, is it more perfect to be that person, or is it more perfect to be somebody who knows what their non-negotiables are And that's a key thing for ones to think about. What are my non-negotiables? Okay, this has to be right. The rest, there's some wiggle room there. And that helps them because you're not taking away this idea of perfection on the things that are important. But then with the other stuff, it's like, well, it's actually more perfect to inspire people toward a better output rather than to get stuck on a little thing that holds everybody back. It's more perfect to get a project done than to be worried about it being imperfect, so I never quite finish it. Okay, so like Maria was saying, we
maybe even started,
or even started, right? So,
I'll start it when I have the time to do it perfect.
Yeah. There's always this redefinition of what it means to be perfect and perspective setting. Okay. All these things come down to our definition of the strategy being overly constricted and flawed and limiting. So we just redefine what it means to be perfect. Somebody who's perfect is somebody who, gets along with other people, inspires people, has fun, still puts out a good quality work product, but doesn't get hung up on small things that aren't really important in the scheme of things. That's perfect. Yeah.
So you also have a growth tool in the Winners to Action universe called the Accelerator. María, can you briefly talk to us about the Accelerator?
Yeah, so the Accelerator at point 1 is acceptance, and this is useful to everyone, not just to ones, but to ones it nurtures or it helps mature the core quality of objectivity. So it's accepting what it is, not continuing to be frustrated about how it should be and how it isn't. So that gap that it's always there makes one frustrated, in accepting that things are what they are without giving up. I think that it's not resignation. It's not like I don't want things to be perfect anymore. It's this is it. I cannot change what it is already. I can't change what it will be. And probably my efforts will be of better use if I concentrate, if I focus on what I can do now, but not fight against what already was done or wasn't done.
Yeah. The key point of the Accelerator of acceptance is to manage our emotional response to things. Okay, so we can say, like Maria was saying, accept that it is what it is and that I can work to change it. But if I allow myself to get angry and frustrated and resentful or withdraw or have some sort of emotional reaction to this, it will make me less skillful at making it better. Right? So the thing with acceptance is to remember, particularly for the one, that it is not, like Maria said, it's not resignation. It is the ability to manage our emotional response to the circumstances. It's acceptance in the sense of, okay, this is what it is, and I can be really pissed off about it, and I can criticize everybody, or I can just take a deep breath and focus on making it better. And if I just take a deep breath and calmly and kindly work toward fixing things, I will be more skillful at doing so than if I'm wagging my finger at people and alienating people and upsetting them. So when we're talking to ones, we're not saying, hey, just learn to deal with it. There's soup on your tie and that's okay. And,
it's what the universe wants.
It's what the universe wants, or it's your spiritual work to have this smudge of soot on your face or something. No. It's your spiritual work to manage your reaction to it as you go about remedying the things that need to be remedied.
Yeah. All right, MJ, any final words for the ones out there, for coaches?
Yeah, I think that, so what I've seen is that a lot of type 1 leaders feel misunderstood because it's like unfairly judged because they are too sometimes demanding, or have too high expectations, and it's like not take it personal in that way, and realize that they're doing their best, but not everybody sees what's behind it. And when they relax and they show the human face, people really love it. So people appreciate what ones are trying to do. It's just that the rigidity almost doesn't let people through. And when they open up a bit, or they show the humanness that is there, people feel much better and more inspired to work with them.
All right, folks, thanks for listening. We will see you next episode.